Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome to the Soul of Business Office Hours.
You got it, where we have the leadership mindset and the mastermind by Blaine all set for Dr. Romina Ghassemi here. And we are starting off right aligned with what we believe in, which is how to think healthy. Now, Doctor, I want to talk about one thing. I believe that we already are born and we are healthy, we're wealthy and happy. And we need to look at what's interfering with our health, our wealth, and our happiness instead of trying to go get something that we already have. I know you work within the alignment in life as an expert chiropractor as well and CEO of Think Healthy. What is the right mindset to be healthy?
I think the right mindset would be just to start believing your body's ability to heal itself. The problem is our lifestyles, our patterns, our poor habits, whether it's chemical, emotional, or physical, actually interrupts the body's flow. Mm-hmm. That's it. Keep believing your inner power. It's a lot stronger than you think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blake. I was
going to say, yeah, we just completed the interview. I mean, we just landed. You know, I'm on the teaching faculty of the American Association for Physician Leadership. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we will consistently organize around is the body's innate ability to know what it needs.
And it does.
Yeah, and it does. It really does.
And it does.
And there's so much noise that we can't hear it. So I mean, I love what you're kind of putting together here with your home kit. And you've actually segmented this. You got a head home kit, you got a neck home kit, and what I like about that is it isolates the noise and says, okay, let's listen to the part that's in distress. It'll tell me what's needed.
Exactly. I've created two. I'm a chiropractor. My life is about alignment. That has been my education. In fact, actually, I'm currently taking a qualified medical examiner licensing seminar. So I'm actively practicing, actively pursuing knowledge, and also creating products that would make people's lives easier and bring health into the forefront in the most easy way possible. Mm-hmm. So on that note, aligning a person's intentions of being healthy and facilitating it how to get there is really what my goal is. And so the products that I created are exactly things that I've been telling my patients for the past 25 plus years. So because of that, I put together a whole bunch of kits. So that way people have an easier way. And it's kind of in there. It's kind of like your sewing kit, your dental kit. Makes your life a little easier. Yeah. And because I would make recommendations for, let's say, a resistive band or a posture support or a neck traction or massage balls, ice pack, like simple basic things, right? And people would get lost in the sea of Amazon. And depending which company was trying to compete with the other, the customer would end up with a product that may end up in a drawer, in a garage, or lost, or in the trash. So that was money, even though it was minute money, but it was money not spent. But worse than the money spent is the time or the hope lost that the person intended to get that across. So a lot of us think about time and money, but we don't associate the fact that I invested emotionally in a product that should get me there. I invested in this. So it wasn't that I lost my money. I lost my momentum. I lost my enthusiasm. I lost my drive. I mean, we have to consider all those. So I thought, okay, as a woman, we like to have everything. We have to have everything with a beer budget and champagne taste. So I was able to get this whole thing put together, thinking like a woman, but putting them together as a doctor to bring in the instant results, offer preventive damages, thinking with my ergonomic hat, and also retraining muscle memory with my neuromuscular retraining hat as to, okay, Why can't I have my cake and eat it too? Why can't I look good and improve my health all at the same time and retrain my muscle memory? So if I'm doing this, I want to see changes that are lasting a little longer than just for the moment that I'm using it. So that was my intention.
That's awesome. Doctor, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about on the investment side, on the pit side, on the marketing and branding side, how often I'm on the other side of this deal, meaning, I'm looking at something and I say, you know what, I look for the A person that can market and sell this with a B product. And, everything that I hear from you is this is an A product. And one of the challenges that I find is that someone that can develop A innovation, because of how long it takes and how many years of focus and education, I mean, you're still in CLE and you're still exploring and expanding the understanding of what you're doing. There's crap out there that just has great marketers tied to it. What are you doing so that we don't lose the best of breed products from the experts and allow you to receive the attention and the learning and the branding that other people are experts in? What are you doing to take this great product to market so that people can distinguish between what really works and what may just be a marketing ploy?
Thank you for asking that question. I was not, I did this because I wanted to help my patients. And it is challenging to go to market when you're also running a clinic, but you're passionate about helping people that you may never see in your clinic, but still make a difference in their lives. So my products are all backed by university studies from University of Michigan with X-ray analysis, surface EMG analysis, as well as a vibration platform for our elderly who are slouched. And we are trying to bring their posture back into proper position because their biomechanical shift could be a devastating fall, which would change their entire life, versus keeping them more upright. We biomechanically give them more stability and allow the body to be more mobile. I lecture on regular basis. We just recently completed a study with Seattle City Lights, Department of Water and Power, with their safety and ergonomic manager, Mr. Keith Osborne. And we were able to document 90% posture improvement in 12 weeks. Now imagine that person using this, that employee who used to be in a perfect office setup and now is at home. That person adds a little stretch and exercise with that. We help people. So my marketing has been very rudimentary by just constant education and back my words with science. Because I believe, when you are if I was an average person and I invented something in my garage, my liability and my responsibility and my legal liability would only be limited to the product. But because I am a doctor, and because I am licensed, and because I have certifications that put me in as an expert, I have to work harder than an average person and have more scientific backup before I even enter a product. Because I tap into I present a product to them with the factor of trust. And to live up to that trust is to back my work with science and knowledge and education, make it fun, make it relatable. So that has been my approach.
So it's pretty organic. Yeah.
Very organic. Yes, very, very organic. Let me tell you. It's personal savings organic.
And David, I'm sure you've got a comment on that. My marketing guru here. In terms of,
I was just thinking, reflecting on the inner powerhouse. I was thinking on the posture side that finding someone that sits in the situation that you want to be in. That we need, I think, to encourage more doctors that have the expertise to combine their power with the power of the experts in e-commerce, those people that, you know, can spend their full time and market and deliver and distribute and manufacture and utilize the correct quality controls in order to effectuate really good business. Because, you know, what I find about doctors and lawyers and professionals in general is that they're very well trained and experts in their fields. But the other side of the ball games, the real critical side, I would say there's a million great ideas. Getting it to market is a whole nother thing. And I see so many extraordinary solutions like this one that aren't making it to mass appeal because there's not the correct intersection or introductions that are necessary. And I think it's analogous to what you do, doctor, in the respect of alignment, posture just by itself, you know, not only with the pandemic, but with technology. You know, I see so many people my age in their 50s with kyphosis because we're the first generation that have spent 20 years leaned over computers. And I don't think people, just like I don't think a lot of professionals understand that alignment with the marketing experts, distribution, and quality control in manufacturing side of things, all the places that Blaine, you develop leaders around the world in the big manufacturing and the distribution, how important that is. It's just as important. You know, I never thought about alignment or posture causing someone to fall, but I've learned so much. I've learned that if you keep your wallet in your back pocket, that it can put you out of alignment, sitting there all day. And then, you know, your ankle injuries or, you know, all types of things can happen when you're not in alignment with continual movement. So I really encourage this merger in whether it's in these masterminds that we have or clubhouses that we have, to merge the experts and these extraordinary products with the right people to market and distribute them.
I would love that. I would love to totally, because it makes allows me to take off that pressure, which I'm not an expert in, and focus on my talents on where I'm an expert in.
I have a group in Seattle actually that does retail and e-commerce distribution, everything from Walmart to Costco, and they're right there in Seattle. So please make sure you reach out, because I think these types of marriages are extremely important, because I see so many people in the e-commerce space, they don't care what the product is because they have the system of distribution. And I keep saying, you know, I'm more be more interested than interesting person. It's upsetting to me because I was like, can't you just, you have this golden, you know, distribution channel. Why don't you put gold through it instead of crap? It's going to wear a lot better on everyone and elevate us all. So I'd love to make that introduction. And I encourage anyone listening, whichever side of the fence you look on, if you're the distribution, branding, and marketing people, look for the best of breed. And if you are the best of breed, let's figure out a way to get it to market.
Oh, David, thank you. I really appreciate it. And just to add a little cherry on top, because, you know, we just have to. The braces that are inside, that the posture correctors that are inside the head and neck kit, as well as the posture kit, they are approved by FSA and HSA.
Oh.
So that way it could be reimbursable, recommended by other doctors, as well as be purchased by the person. Yes, that took a little while, but it was a major milestone.
All right, well, it's time to get this thing to market and sell lots of them and help a lot of people. It fits right in to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun. I know that everyone can reach you. It's thinkhealthy.com. What a great domain. Everyone should realize and always think healthy, wealthy, and happy. They're all aligned, just like our natural embodiment posture. So thank you, doctor, for joining us. And I look forward to helping you. Reach out. I'll make that introduction for you.
I want to encourage, David had mentioned this too, Clubhouse. I don't know if you're involved with the Clubhouse space. I can send you an invitation on it, but that would be a really interesting forum, and it's audio only, but it's to bring your expertise in front of people that actually can leverage it I think, given that you're organic with it, it'll be kind of serendipitous in some of the connections that can be made there. And there's a number of rooms where this would be really appropriate for a conversation.
I so appreciate it. I actually, based on that, sharing the knowledge, I have put together about 28 podcasts that are on my website. And also on a weekly basis, every Wednesday, I go on Facebook and also do mass email marketing to our existing contacts about just pick a topic a week for half an hour, discuss that, help give people health hacks.
Yeah.
Because I've been in practice for about 27 years. What am I going to do with all this knowledge? The only thing it's worth having it is to share it with others. So
well, let's make that happen.
There.
We'll make that happen.
We shall. Thank you. Great talking to you both.
You
bet. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. Think
cool.
healthy, my friend. Think healthy. Now we're going to shift gears. It's going to be fun. More into the other side of happiness, restaurants and
gastronomy.
Exactly. We'll bring Matt Vannini in and restaurantaccountingservices.com, CEO of Restaurant Solutions, and a great podcast called The Tip Share, which I see so many. There's like 2.2 million podcasts now, and I'm blessed to have one of the top ones in the world, but I have a basic name, the playbook. I really like that, the Tip Share. So
the Tip Share.
Let's talk about the podcast to start. What is the topic in the Tip Share? What are we teaching in the Tip Share podcast?
Well, what we try to do, first of all, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. I am very grateful, and I've been looking forward to this all day. So, David, hats off to you. Sincerely, the value that you provide for people is just fantastic. So I am truly humbled to be here with you today, and I hope both of you and your families are safe and doing well. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You bet. The Tip Share, the Tip Share was our way of communicating. We originally started with complex items, such as compliance related issues related to COVID, related to ERTC, cash management. Then it turned into balancing that between best practices that related to finance as a service for the hospitality industry. So many times there's such analysis or paralysis by analysis that occurs in the hospitality industry, that what we try to do is we try to distill that down to just be very simple, to just, this is what you've got to do to take care of your guests. This is what you have to do to take care of the people that you employ. And ultimately, this is how you make money. And that triangle balance is the cornerstone for our entire company, as well as for what we try to communicate in the Tip Share. It's the strategy that we apply for our clients when we're working on financial matters with them, or matters of how to survive COVID and whether or not to move to an all digital presence, or whether you're going to try to, create this hybrid. Also to dispel the myth around ghost kitchens or current trends. So that's what we try to do with Tip Share.
Interesting. Before the show started today, I was telling David that I was out cutting a tree out of the driveway. We had a bit of wind here overnight, and I had the chainsaw out and I was cutting the tree. And I was looking around a little bit, and I do have a point to this story. I was looking around a little bit, and I love nature. Nature, is a great teacher for me. And I had this epiphany. I've done this for years, but I never put words around it like this. And in terms of leadership development, and this is applicable to growing a restaurant, growing any business as an entrepreneur, I think. Too often people want to get better at something. I want to be better. And I think that misses the mark in a profoundly major way. Instead of trying to be better, I want to be different. And where this came from was I was looking at a little bird, and this little vision came into my mind about a tadpole when I was a kid. First time I saw a tadpole, and Dad said, "That's a frog." And I'm going, "No, that's not a frog. That's a tad." And I had a word for it. He said, "No, it will become a frog. And that pupa will become a dragonfly. And that cocoon will become a butterfly. That infant will become a lawyer. That infant may become a doctor or a restaurateur. But it's that I'm going to be different than what I am today that opens up a different world and different possibilities. And leadership is about different possibilities." So I'd be real curious, Matt, and this is in COVID right now. People talk about getting back to normal, reopening the restaurant. We get 50% capacity. We're ready to go. And now how do we do that better? Where does doing it different come into play in your world?
It's a wonderful question. I think, you begin with the end in mind. And I think that being different for most individuals starts with, why did they get into the business in the first place? I get a lot of individuals that come to us, especially in the small independent market. They have really creative ideas. They've either worked for large corporations and they want to take the best of that structure and bring it to their own brand. Or you have individuals that, we call them the trifecta of fools. They're usually younger guys that really want to get into this business for, because they went to Vegas and they saw something there. And it's three buddies who get together, and one individual made a little bit of money and the other two just want to, they want to be a part of something, but they still want to be different. So you want to promote and cultivate that creativity. And even if that creativity is a finance-based creativity, they want to try to, this is how food halls got started. Real estate investors had large warehouses and they wanted to do something of more of a communal source and for their, for the people in the local micro communities. And boom, that's how those things showed up. So I think that we want to try to promote the differences for them and the uniqueness in any way. Now, having said that, where do we go now as the pandemic continues to forge forward? I think what you're going to see is a better balance between two facets, the operator and the landlord. I think that this is definitely shining an incredible light for landlords on how to create leases that will protect their buildings, but ultimately will allow an operator to have a much more successful relationship for long term. There's an old saying that the sweet spot for selling a restaurant is at 7 years. And you say, well, why 7 years? Because most individuals will get a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options. So at 7, they still have something to sell. But here's the secret. Most individuals, when you look at the consumer price index of increased rent, the increase is almost 62% over the first 6.5, 7 years for most operators. So if I said to you, hey, look, your $10 hamburger now has to be $16.20 just to pay the rent after 7 years, you're going to sit around and go, well, wait a minute, what's in it for me? And so most operators at that point have to make a determination about whether to stay or whether to go. And most of them don't think that far in advance about how they're boxing up their businesses. So to answer your question, what makes you different is going to be your focus on your profitability. What are you willing to do to put money to focus on your profit so that you don't wind up needing a PPP loan or an ERTC loan just to survive. The other thing too that I think is going to be huge dynamic in the next 3 months is going to be, and ask yourselves what you do for your families right now. How much online ordering are you doing? How much DoorDash, Grubhub, Postmates, whatever, Chow Now, Chowlee, how much of that are you doing? And how much of that are you going to continue to do even after you've gotten your shots? So most operators, what we're coaching them up for right now is, number one, you absolutely need a budget. If you didn't have a budget before, it's not optional now. You need a budget. You need to be able to proactively manage your expenses. Number two, you need a break even. If you didn't do a break even, which is not a budget, right? You need to know when is the last possible minute to pull that parachute to make sure that you float to safety. That's a break even. And number three, most operators, we all came up understanding how to do a budget by looking at revenue generated per unit, right? So the restaurant was 4,000 square feet. Take 4,000, look at the average price and multiply it out. That isn't going to work on any level moving forward. Nowadays, it's revenue generated per seat, because as we play with the 25 to the 50, back to the 25, down to 0 in different towns, what we have to recognize is what is that impact to the seat in the organization. And why that's so important is because that is like handicapping horses at the track. You will understand who's got the best chance to win the race based on the environmental conditions of the race itself. And that's what restaurateurs need to do. If they're going to be different, how can you still maintain your brand? How can you do it in an all digital presence or a hybrid presence? Or maybe you stay shut down for a while and get the business right so that you have something to offer your employees when things get better in your community. There's so many facets that are at play here. Sorry for the long answer, but I wanted to.
I love it. There's some golden nuggets there. Thank you. That is really good stuff.
You know, and listening to the answer, I think about the word capabilities and parallels between sports as an industry, restaurants, hospitality as an industry, as a backdrop. You know, I think you may think of careers and jobs and positions in the context of a backdrop of restaurants, and especially when you look at the capabilities and skills, knowledge, and desire that you have in accounting and balance sheets and forecasting and other things that are capabilities, in my opinion, that are necessary in all backdrops. Coming into the pandemic, you know, the people that have capability are able to solve problems and fill needs. The one thing I love about the pandemic as a business person, as an entrepreneur, is during all the crises of my life, whether I had the capabilities or not, I witnessed one thing: a ton of problems and a ton of need arise. And as an entrepreneur, you know, my antennae went up, and sometimes I was able to take advantage of it with my capabilities. Sometimes my experience did not allow, and my ego was in my own way where I wasn't able to. But now, as I get a little more gray in the beard, I really recognize the importance of 1, backdrops, 2, capabilities, 3, identifying needs and problems, and then fulfilling them to create opportunities. That's what it seems as your career has evolved from being an operator, a general manager, being involved in understanding how everything works, so that someday you now can identify the needs and the problems and actually have the capability to solve them and monetize it. And I think everything that you described is something for all entrepreneurs to learn, what their backdrops and capabilities are to identify the problems and the needs. You obviously have, what are the biggest problems that you see arising and the needs that you're fulfilling today?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question, and I'll raise you one. I love a good crisis. I do. I love a good crisis. I think that you get to, you know, that old saying that we grew up with, you know, you get to know who your real friends are when you're in trouble, right? You know, and let's face it, you know, it was a week before the restaurants got shut down. I looked at my wife and I was like, hey, we just celebrated 20 years. And I started Razzie because I wanted to teach. I grew up, obviously, you know, I grew up in the restaurant business. I've owned restaurants. And I saw a real need when I was in corporate America that restaurant managers used to pride themselves on being able to work 70 hours a week. And it never made sense to me. I don't want you to be away from your families for an extended period of time. I want you, you know, there's three legs for a business. There's timeliness, there's accuracy, and there's knowledge. Right? And if you're lucky, you can balance those levers through technology, through education, and through follow-up for your staff. And so that's a principle that we follow. So when the pandemic hits and the crisis hits, my first thought for Razzie was, okay, what can we do to participate with our partners, right? Our clients. How can we participate with them? We knew that, number one, administrative overhead was going to be non-revenue producing overhead. And it wasn't about job replacement. It was about job focusing. They knew they were going to have to be able to spend what little money that they had on individuals that could either make food or get that food into some sort of eco-friendly packaging and make sure that they could represent the brand to their guests, because we knew the pent-up demand was going to be there. So at the end of the day, this crisis allowed us to focus on the mission critical items of preparing food. We used to say in the business, keep the hot stuff hot, the cold stuff cold. Then we looked at the capabilities. So David, you were on point. What are restaurants capable of doing? We found that in the absence of any plan, that people will try to solve social security and world hunger all in the same conversation. We had to pull all that away and say, look, if you are not taking care of your virtual guest, or you are not, you know, bringing back individuals, and instead of trying to bring back 10 people and giving them 5 hours, let's make sure that we bring back the right individuals who can really do best for the business. Focusing very narrowly on that, we've called it Operation Jenny. Remember Jenny and Forrest Gump, right? Mm-hmm. Jenny was the boat that couldn't get any shrimp. The hurricane hit, but because they were prepared and they were still out there, they were able to catch all the shrimp. That's been what we've been doing with Razzie, with relationship to our clients for the last 13 months, is how can we help you catch more shrimp, and what services can we provide? So what we did was we pivoted the company completely. We added 2 new service levels that were much more engaging. we knew that the cash management component was going to be massive. So we focused our efforts on cash management, and then we provided across the board permanent discounts for our clients of up to 30%, because we looked at all their sales and we knew what their break evens were going to be. So we predetermined what the break evens were to make sure that the pricing that we were going to give them was going to be commensurate, not just during the pandemic, but was going to give them ramp room in our partnership, because we also know that opportunity means that individuals who are prepared, going back to what I said previously about those lease rates, there's opportunities everywhere now. And I think that if individuals are in that mindset, there's going to be a real good go forward for a lot of brands and a lot of businesses. So
I think I was going to say, great partner for that. Go ahead. I bet you're going to ask him where can everybody find you?
Yeah.
Right?
For me, it's restaurantaccountingservices.com, and I'm very grateful for anybody who wants to reach out. We're more than willing to just listen to you, listen to what's going on, and provide you with any assistance necessary.
Well, we appreciate it, and you may want to hang on in the green room and check out our next guest, because we're honored to have a legend here. I think he's written more books than I've read, and I went to law school, so I was super excited to have you here, and I'm looking at the green room going, this is such a great conversation, but I got to let Ivan come in here. Sometimes the show is way too short, and if you've ever watched it, sometimes it's way too long.
You know what? I'm grateful for your time, and if you ever feel I can be of assistance again, you feel free to give me a shout. Thank you again.
Oh, we appreciate you coming on.
I love this conversation, Matt. Yeah, I'm going to circle back with you. I want to talk to you about something, so I'll pick it up from Jake, and I want to talk.
You feel free anytime. I'm in anytime. Thanks, gentlemen.
Matt Vannini, thank you so much. That's
Bye
awesome.
now.
All right, we got a stellar crew here, but this is a cleanup hitter. This is the Hank Aaron of a guest when we get him every once in a while. Hello, Mr. Misner.
It is great to see you, and Blaine, it's great to see you.
Ivan, yeah,
Blaine and I are both members of the Transformational Leadership Council with his beautiful wife, Cynthia, and it's great to see both of you.
I saw you on the list, and I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be great.
That's the thing I love about it being so active, is I don't really know the guests until sometimes when the show starts, and I just got so excited to see him there in the green room. I switch my pages around and go, oh my gosh, we have a TLC reunion, one of the greatest organizations. I just don't even know where to start. Talk about the greatest of humanitarians, thought leaders.
Thank you.
Honestly, but in giving is where I'd like to start. I want to pose something to you. I've gone through a transformation of my own, and it's not an quite well understood transformation in the respect that I tell people, I used to believe the more that I give, the more I receive. And learning the scarcity in that statement, I transformed to an abundant perspective, which a lot of people are like, I don't really understand, Dave. The more I receive, the more I can give.
Yeah.
And it's a very big shift for me, because it makes me worthy. It also holds me accountable to my intent of giving. Right. And there's no scarcity of negotiation or trade in the matter. So I'd love for you to explain, why we can't give what we receive, or why receiving is equally, if not more important to giving.
Yeah. So look, they're both very important, and you probably don't even know this, but I just did a book called Infinite Giving, which is all about the whole process of giving. And there's a great quote in there from another mutual friend of Blaine and mine, Lisa Nichols. And she says, it's really important to give from your saucer and not your cup. Mm-hmm. You have to fill your cup. You have to achieve whatever success you're looking for. And then as you become more successful, it overflows. And from that overflow is what you need to give freely. When I was a young man, I had no money, but I had time. Mm-hmm. And I gave time. I contributed time. I was a big brother for a number of years. And then I joined a nonprofit organization to help them on a committee, and then on the board. And then I started to get successful, and I was able to give money and time. And that's my saucer. And so you give freely from your saucer. I think sometimes people they give and give and give, and they think, well, I'm not getting anything back. Being an infinite giver does not mean you're an infinite victim. You have to have discernment to know whether the people you're giving to are willing to contribute back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of the credos, one of the foundational value structures that you have in the BNI, the Business Network International, which, by the way, for those of you listening, Ivan and his late wife, Beth, were the founders of what is now the largest networking organization on the planet. And I'm not talking about LinkedIn.
The largest in person. Now it's
in person. Yeah,
we have over 10,000 groups now in more than 70 countries.
Global, global, and giving is basically the whole premise of how BNI is put together.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No. I just wanted you to elaborate on that a bit.
Well, our principal core value is that of giver's gain, and to me, giver's gain is more than a phrase. It's a way of living one's life. It's a perspective to view and interact with the world. It's an attitude, not an expectation. And when it's applied properly, it will change your life. And when it changes enough lives, it will change the world. And we saw that in 2020 when, it was the craziest year I've ever experienced. I'm guessing you have the same experience. And in the middle of COVID, our organization not only grew, we passed over 11 million referrals to our members. Our members generated 11, and they generated 16 billion with a B, 16 billion US dollars worth of business during the middle of COVID. And the reason for that is that in difficult times, it's your network is a beacon of hope in a sea of fear. That's what your network is. And you have to activate your network and utilize that network to help you and to help them so that you can both do well during difficult times.
Yeah. David and I both do this, and we lead conversation. In terms of networking, I never, and I've got to get better at this because I seldom will ask for things, but I'm always saying, what can I give? How can I be of service? I don't know what it can be, but let me know what it might be, and if you think of it, ping me. And so, the idea of being a center of distribution rather than a center of accumulation, is a big shift in terms of mindset that I think entrepreneurs around the world can really grab. They can grab a hold of that. The whole world changes for them.
It does, and it is important to ask. When you have poured into other people. When you have poured in social capital to other people, it's completely okay to ask. When it's wrong is when there's no relationship. Yeah. The bank has this funny idea that you have to put money in an account before you can write a check. Well, social capital is the same way. It helps if you invest in the relationship. And then if you invest in the relationship, asking is fine. This is a TLC day. We have another mutual friend, Alex Mendosian, who reached out to me years ago. And he started giving me some idea, and I'm like, all right, I just met Alex, and it's like, all right, he's going to pitch me on something he wants me to do. And so I said, Alex, look, I have my budget set up for next year. He's like, no, I want to test this out. I want to do it with you to test out to see if it works for you and for me. And I went, okay, if you want to do that. And then 2 months later, he reached out with something else, and a couple months later, something else. And I finally started like, Alex, what can I do for you? Because you're pouring into me. 1 year later, true story, 1 year later, Alex calls me up and he says, Ivan, I have a favor to ask you. I said, the answer is yes. What is it that I'll be doing? And he said, I haven't even told you what it is. I said, yeah, but you've done nothing but pour into me for a year, just giving and giving and giving. And now you're asking for something. I can't imagine you're going to ask for something that I'm not okay doing. So what is it that I'll be doing for you? And he told me, and it was like, yeah, are you kidding? I'm happy to do that. Yeah. That's what networking should be about. Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships.
Yeah. I also think one of the things I've learned from you, I know when I first joined TLC, someone coined, and I saw it in Forbes and CNN as well, that's the father of modern networking, Dave. That's someone you need to meet because, from my brand and my relationships, from the sports world, that is how I built it, by being kind to my future self and doing good deeds, which creates the best network. And I know your book is intriguing to me. Who's in the Room? The Secret to Creating Your Best Life and Infinite Giving, the 7 principles of the giver's gain. One of the things that's been an epiphany for me as, a 35-year business branding networking person is I used to waste too much time not realizing the power of what I looked for in people, meaning I was born to be an overseller, a back-end seller, liar, manipulator, cheater in sales. Like I saw people as gatekeepers. And I was trained from the time I graduated law school in this conflictual nature of relationship that I somehow have to overcome somebody in order to get what I want, instead of this epiphany of what if you looked at everyone as a sponsor or a power sponsor of mine. And that's what BNI represented to me, why it's so successful and why LinkedIn and other places are so successful is we create this collective consciousness of, hey, I'm here to help. And we pour into each other until one of our capabilities is lacking and I find someone that has that capability and they, oh my goodness, I'd love to give you my superpower. You've been offering your superpower. That just epiphany of why aren't I just looking for people with open minds and treating them like sponsors and power sponsors instead of looking for the right person that may have a closed mind and looking them as a gatekeeper. Where has that over the history of your networking knowledge really come into play?
Well, let me respond first to your
Sure.
point. I think it's really about taking off your bib and putting on an apron. It's not about what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, but it's about how can you help other people. And I think early on in my process of creating BNI, first of all, I'd like to tell you that I had this vision of an international organization, but the truth is I just wanted some referrals because I was a management consultant and I wanted to help my friends. And, I had gone to a lot of networks that were just mercenary. They would just sell to me. I felt like I'd been slimed and I needed to get a shower whenever I went to those meetings. Then I went to these others that were just social, happy hour and hors d'oeuvres. Nobody was doing business. So what I wanted to do was take the focus on business, but not be mercenary, the focus on social, but make it relational and merge that together. And the glue would be this philosophy of giver's gain, that you got to be there to help each other. And then if you do that, what goes around comes around. And I had that principle from day one, and the rest it took off like crazy. I mean, we opened 20 chapters my first year by accident. It really was. And then I was like, what the heck just happened? Because this wasn't in my plan. And that's when I created the plan to scale the business. And in 1986, true story, 6 months later, after I had that epiphany that this could be scaled, I calculated, and this is before Monsieur Google, where you could just find anything, right? I did some research. I thought I could probably have 10,000 chapters someday. And I told a friend of mine, I think BNI could someday have 10,000 chapters. And he said to me, and how many chapters do you have now? I said, 30. And he said, you think you could have 10,000? I said, yeah, I really think it's possible. And we just crossed the 10,000 chapter mark last December.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
There's no doubt why.
That is so good. I love it.
Last thing real quick, because I got a minute before Sky comes on.
Yeah.
Throughout all the networking, I just would like some of your tips on how to get the emotional connection. I think that credibility and emotional connection are the two biggest assets that we have in networking. I understand credibility by living as close to our truths that we can and speaking as well. But a lot of people don't have the techniques down to create an emotional connection, which is so important in networking. I was hoping maybe to finish off, you could share some of the things you've learned over the years. Yeah,
well, the thing to do is to pour into people, to really find, my favorite words are, how can I help you? Because I don't know how to help you. You got to tell me how to help you. And that's really the key. Now, in a networking environment, you've got the meat is that credibility, but there's visibility. First, you got to be visible. People have to know who you are. Then you get to credibility. But when you're at credibility, that's when you can nudge it over to profitability. And you help do that by first pouring into people and asking how you can help them. And then at some point, it's okay for you to tell them how they can help you. And it really is about, it's like a friendship. How do you build a friendship? You hang out with them, you spend time, you help them out, you help them, fix something in their garage, you build a relationship with them. And that's what you do with networking if you do it right.
Yep.
Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting.
Yeah, and you give a great farm in order to do that. On BNI is a great place to go. And I know BNI.com, IvanMeisner.com, anywhere else people can reach you.
IvanMeisner.com. I have 14 years of content. It's all free up there. Go check it out.
And it's good content, folks. It's really, really good content. Don't be shy. Take him up on his invitation. Absolutely. Ivan, I love you. It's great to have you here, buddy.
David.
Ivan, how can I be of service?
I was
know what? I was going to ask you, what could I do for you guys? I know a couple of people that maybe it might find of value to be on your show.
We would love that.
I'm happy to talk to either of you about some guests.
And you're welcome back anytime. Thank you for blessing.
Hey, you got my number. Anytime you call, I'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you, Ivan. Take care.
Bye-bye.
What a great.
Hey, I was going to ask him how his frozen pipes were. Because he's down in Texas right now.
He's amazing, isn't he?
I love Ivan.
You have surrounded yourself with the best people and the best ideas.
Yeah. What's that?
I said you've surrounded yourself with the best people and the best ideas. And your nomination to TLC for me years ago was one of the great catalysts of surrounding me with the right people, the right ideas. And some of them were mentioned there, Lisa Nichols, and we go on forever and ever with the great group of people from Jack Canfield down that you put us in touch with. All right, we have a quick 5 minutes with the CEO of MountainTop Data, my friend, Sky Cassidy. Welcome to Office Hours.
Thanks for having me on, David. Blaine, I can't be the first person to say that or notice that. David Blaine, that's it.
David Blaine, yes. We work magic here.
Fantastic.
Well, why don't you give us a little bit of background in your question and see if Blaine and I can't be of service to you?
Yeah, I had a question for you, David. You've had really extreme highs in your life, like you've been on top, and then you've fallen and had extreme lows as well. Where did you find personally was your sweet spot in all that? Like, what was your most enjoyable point personally?
So interesting is, and I'll give a story about Warren Moon, my business partner. And when we became business partners, he said, you know what, Dave? He said, you are so positive and you have so much energy, and, you don't always have to celebrate everything. And I was like, well, no, you're supposed to celebrate it, and when things go wrong, you don't have to get so upset. And he pulled up a couple Warren Moon videos and he said, watch this right here. And he was running off the field and he had like a smirk on his face in a pump. And he said, you know when that was? I said, no. He said, I set the record against Kansas City's #1 defense for 522 yards. And that's where my mindset and energy was. And then he showed me another one sitting on a bench and he was kind of just looking like this. And he said, you know when that was? I said, no. He said, we were playing for the Oilers and we were in the championship game before the Super Bowl and we lost the 32-point lead to the Buffalo Bills. Probably the worst moment of my sports career. Look what I look like. That's where I have learned to go. I wasn't there when I had my all-time lows. I was on my way, and I certainly wasn't there with all the super successes, or else I wouldn't have had my all-time lows. But through the combination of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and the idea of inspiration where my life came through me, I've been able to find the light, the love, and the lessons in neutrality of finding neutral as my higher self, not some super excited state of celebration or some dismal state of feeling bad or sorry for myself or, disappointment or really beating up myself a lot of times. Just, I was down to, I always say my bottom had a basement, and I would have to tell myself, I got to look up to get up. That's how low it felt. And now over the last 15 years, neutrality is my high point. And I think knowing, values and daily practices in order to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything, I shifted my paradigm in my life so much that I actually went up to the guy that I blamed for me losing $100 million. I got in a terrible lawsuit with a neighbor, and everybody was blaming everybody. And, you know, it was 9 years later that I got to walk up to him at a football tailgate and thank him. And not only was I mentally aligned, emotionally aligned, my energy was true, that I found the light, the love, and the lessons in the situation that made me who I was and blessed me with the life I'm leading today. And if everyone out there can seek the light, the love, and lessons, enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential, and realize that these pains, these low points, Guy, were not stop signs in my life. They were turn signals, indicators that I had time to grow and learn and light in my life to move me to a better place, a better situation, and make my situation. I've never been more healthy, happy, and wealthy in my entire life because of one thing. I've learned to find neutral, to get back to center.
It sounds like you're like mentally you found emotional insurance almost in that, yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit, but I know in my business, we're always looking at, you know, you're willing to pay money, you're willing to pay to take out, you're willing to lose the peaks in order to get rid of the valleys, kind of. You're like, let's average this out a little bit, as you want that stability, not just in your business, but in your mind and in your personal life, I guess, as well.
I just don't like to waste energy with the needs of the ego. Maybe, Blaine, you could finish up by talking about how the excess of happiness and of disappointment, you know, does take us off center and accelerates us in the wrong direction.
I love your analogy, the tailgate conversation. I have absolutely no control over the outcomes of any endeavor in my life. No control whatsoever. I can do my best at any given point in time, and then, yeah, it's a crapshoot from there. I mean, something unexpected can happen, and the bottom can fall out, or something unexpected could happen, and oh my God, I couldn't imagine it ever being as good as this. Those outcomes are not me. And if I attach my sense of self to the outcomes that I experience in my life, I lose resourcefulness. And this is what David's talking about, I think, with, you know, that center. The only thing I can control are my thoughts, my behaviors, and my feelings. That's where I actually do have control. And, you know, one of the things about neutrality is some people can go to, well, there's no juice there. Oh boy, there is a ton of juice there. However, if you're addicted to drama, you're not going to play that game particularly well, and you're going to continue to, you know, cycle down that drain.
Right. You say you don't like it, but really you want that, and you want that drama.
Yeah. What ends up happening, guys, really kind of interesting. People, you know, it takes a big person to play a big game, and if you're not playing a game big enough for who you are, you're going to screw up the game you're playing. And that just because you want to keep it interesting. And that, you know, that happens in relationships all the time. If you go back to that neutral place, and I say neutral not from an emotional, you know, deadness, but neutral from the sense of I'm aware, I'm awake, I can make choices here. There's agency. I can do something here. There's excitement there. There's pulsation. There's creativity. All of that stuff comes from that centered, grounded place. And yeah, when you're down so low that whale shit looks like clouds, you just kind of go, well, whatever.
You know, I feel that on the call with you guys. Normally, I have a podcast and I'm doing a lot of talking, but here I'm not quite afraid to talk, but I don't want to jump in and try to be saying the lofty things, because I know I'd be way over where I should be with you. I just want to listen to you guys.
Yeah. One more thing, and then I'll have to let you go. When Blaine was talking, one of the things about neutrality that is counterintuitive, and I think where fear comes into neutrality, is not that there isn't the excitement. Like what I have found from striving to plateau and grow through being at neutral or at center is that we're connected to this extraordinary power, this extraordinary light. And we are afraid of our own power. And when we get to neutral or center, what Blaine's explaining, this excitement is a power or light that is harnessed in us and through us to others, that allows us actually to liberate others. And what happens a lot of times is when we don't accept neutral as our higher self, and we don't accept center as our higher self, we burn our own candle out. Like a candle with a light, with a flame, it's going to burn straight down. But once you realize this center, that it comes through you, your candle's lighting everybody else's candle, and your candle never burns. And the first time you really get to this center, it's terrifying how much power you have. And I know our friend Bob Proctor talks about, I have more power in my pinky to light up all of Manhattan. I've felt that power before. And I haven't even, I think, reached the potential of even an infinitesimal amount of energy that is going through me. And I think that's an important reality for everyone to pursue, is center is the place where I can experience my higher self. And there's too much power there. Don't be afraid. Like you said, Sky, we're going to inch our way. We'll crawl before we walk, before we run, because we don't, too much at one time. Drinking through a fire hose is not efficient. So we slowly increase the amount of light and power. And we appreciate you coming on. Please tell everyone about your podcast, because I'm a big fan of yours and the podcast.
I'm really excited to hear that. It's called the If You Market podcast. We talk all about business to business marketing. We've got great guests on basically, and they talk about what they really know about. I believe, David, we're going to be having you come on soon. And that's it. Just B2B marketing, probably about half the time, and me and Carla Jo Holmes, the co-host, and the guest just rambling about who knows what random stuff the other half the time.
We'll get Dr. Romina your number, so she needs that B2B marketing help. So thank you, Sky Cassidy. Thank you for coming on. What a great question, and thank you, Blaine, for your wisdom. We'll see you soon, Sky.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. You best, guys. Take care.
Cool. Woo!
Hey, boy, you talk about take it out of neutral and put it in drive.
Ivan blows me away, right? I just continue, as you have friends and you start having to read their bios, you forget how extraordinary some of your friends are. And every once in a while, I still read your bio just to remind myself how blessed I am that you are family to me and a mentor of mine, because, man, you bring it like nobody else. What was your takeaway for the day, my friend?
Well, outside of just kind of being so grateful to have Ivan in the room. Ivan's in the room. Yeah. The whole idea, you mentioned his book, Who's in Your Room? And that's one of the things that I think was present with the idea of alignment. Mm-hmm. Who do I align with? And that's an invitation to come into my room. And there's a gatekeeper there. Who do I let in? And in Ivan's book, pick this one up, because part of the metaphor is if somebody comes in the room, they never get out. So you want to have a good gatekeeper. One of the gatekeepers is, who am I aligning with? Yeah, who am I aligning with? So having that question in place. And the other piece, I love the idea of partnership that was spoken about. When we were talking about restaurants and how that all gets put together, and really kind of how we were, Matt was saying that whole transition we're a partner here. Yeah. And I want to partner, so that's an alignment piece again. So it all kind of comes back down to relationship, alignment, and who's in my room. They all kind of fit into that bundle. And if I've got that pretty well, three-legged stool, I get those three pieces into play, I'm going to have a pretty good day, I think.
A really good day, and that's where you'll be at center. I love that. Mine was interesting because it was really a subtle point that Ivan made that was awakening to me. I talk about the credibility and the emotional attachment, and of course, you and I both almost every episode talk about being of service and asking, and so that wasn't completely new to us. And but what was interesting was a word that he said before. He said, before you can be credible, you need to be visible. Oh my gosh, this was an epiphany. It was a statement that is so prevalent today, whether it's in person, on the phone, via email, or traditional media, or social media. You need to be visible. And it's not just visible in the sense of branding and marketing, which, Sky talks about all the time. You and I talk together and strategize about this visibility. The show is proof in that pudding, the books that we write, the speeches, the coaching. But one of the other things that came to my mind, which you have mentored me on because you have just such great relationships, is how are you going to show up? You know, your wife, Cynthia, all the time will say, oh, you know, how are you going to show up? Thank you for showing up. In other words, thank you for being visible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Showing up. And I think visibility is my big takeaway. I appreciate you showing up every single Thursday, no matter 5:30 in the morning or 5:30 at night. You are there showing up to be of service, to help share our situational knowledge, dummy tax, and whatever else we have, some love and light to everybody. Hopefully they appreciate it as much as I do. But thank you for being visible, and I will see you soon.
Absolutely. Going to be coming down on your doorstep.
Learn BlaineBartlett.com/LMM, the Leadership Mindset Mastermind. You have to join. That's my mentor. If you're a Dave Meltzer fan, if you think I know a lot, go to the source. Oop, that way. It's not giving my left from right. Go to the source. Thank you so much, Blaine.
Thank you, David. Okay. Next week.
Next week. All right, everyone, real quick. Tomorrow, 6 a.m., Breakfast of Champions on Clubhouse, 11 a.m., training. They're all free. You always just have to email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Go and watch the playbook if you've missed anything. All of these episodes of everything I have is on the playbook. Download it. It's featured on Spotify, Entrepreneur, every platform. You'll enjoy it. Like it, share it. Please, everyone, reach out if you need anything. I'm here for you. Most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Have a great night. Thank you.